सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानानन्दशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ Thank you. Just like to add one sentence. The second prayer was, I recited it, shloka, I recited it basically for today's chapter of causal body. So that has, as our sadhakas proceed, it has to do a lot with ajnana and ignorance. So it is a obeisance or a prayer to the Guru to get us out of that ajnana with the help of him. So it revolves around this, and that is why the prayer regarding the causal body. Thank you.
Thank you, Uma.
Thank you. So we will proceed with the first shloka for today. Is this correct?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So I'll start, Sahana. Huh? Okay. So today, this is Karana Shariram Kim. So what is a causal body? The student here is asking the Guru, what is a causal body? And this is a very, very abstract topic. I'm just going to see how it goes about. So last week we discussed about Sthula Shariram, which is a visible body or a gross body, as we say, and then we further discussed about Sukshma Shariram, which is a subtle body, which is made up of our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions. We further went to understand our Gyanendriyas, which is the input tools, and Karmendriyas, which are the output tools. And we also discussed about the Devtas, which blesses these organs, right? So today we are going to talk about Karana Shariram. It is a very complex and a little absurd topic. I'll try my best. So let's delve a little deeper into this. So Vedant, can you change the slide? So it says Sharir Sari Rad Vyasya Karma Karna Matram. So here Upanishad says that according to Upanishads, basically whatever originates, whenever anything originates, it originates from a cause. There has to be a cause. So for example, we have seen, that in the milk, the butter is in the potential form. We don't see the butter there, but butter is still there. Similarly, in mango seed, the entire tree exists in the potential form. Yeah. So the Upanishads have given a name to these. So one is called Karanam. Karanam is the mango seed basically. And from Karanam, we get Karyam. That is a tree. Similarly, from milk, we get butter. So milk is the Karanam and the butter is the Karyam. So we can say that without Karanam, we don't get the Karyam. Right? So let's now connect this further to the universe. So before the Big Bang, I think, Vedant, you can change the slide. So before the Big Bang happened, everything was in the unmanifested form, or we say it was in singularity or condensed form. And so this Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram came from this unmanifested form. It was there in the unmanifested form it was there in the unmanifested form when before the universe, our Srishti began, right? But when the Srishti came into existence, they came into the manifested form in the form of both Sukshma Shariram and Sthula Shariram. So once the Srishti goes into Pralaya, or it again goes into many unmanifested state during Pralaya, both Sukshma Shariram and the Sthula Shariram will also resolve, and they will go into the unmanifested form. And again, when the new Srishti begins, they will manifest itself, and they will come in the manifested form. So we can say that we can basically conclude that from the Karana Shariram, that is the universe, these are the seeds of both Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram. I think I am done. Maybe, Sahana, you can further explain this.
Yeah, thank you, Sonali. Yeah. So, like Sonali said, every individual is a mixture of two components. The material component, which is called Anatma, and the spiritual component, which is called Atma. So the material component, which we already discussed in detail in the last week, it is subdivided into 11 parts. That is 3 bodies, 5 koshas, and 3 avasthas. 3 bodies being Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and Karana Sharira. Sthula Sharira, we all know, it's a gross body or a physical body, which we have rented for the worldly transaction. Once the transaction is over, we vacate it. It is disposed of. The same way, the second one is the Sukshma Sharira, which is further divided into 17 instruments for all the transaction. Those are Pancha Jnanendriyas, Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Pranas, Mana, Buddhi. Right? So next comes the Karana Sharira. Like Sonali said, this is a very abstract topic to explain, but I'll try my level best to put it, to present it. So we all know the law, science law, the law of conservation of energy and the matter. So what is that? Nothing can be created or nothing can be destroyed. That's what Einstein told. E is equal to mc square. But it can change from one form to the another. So energy can change to mass or a matter. So now we know that Sukshma Sharira and the Sthula Sharira have come from the Karana Sharira. So it existed. So nothing can be created, right? I mean, it has come from seed form. It existed in a seed form earlier. Because tree cannot originate without a seed, right? So every product comes with a raw material. Every product presupposes a raw material. So Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira were also products that were created at the time of Srishti. If this is a product, it must exist in the form of a raw material or a seed or a rudimentary form. That we are calling it as a Karana Sharira. So every jiva is endowed with the Karana Shariram. Karana Shariram exists even before the creation in the seed form. That seed version, we are calling it as a Karana Shariram. So then, what is the nature of the Karana Shariram? So here they are saying, Anirvachya Anadi Avidya Rupam Sharira Dvayasya Karanamatram Satswarupa Ajnanam Nirvikalpaka Rupam Yadasti Tat Karana Sharira. So we know Shari, just for our understanding, I will be just shuffling these a bit. So any body which has these 4 features, you can call it as a Karna Shariram. Sharira Dvayasya Karanam Atram. So this Karna Shariram is the cause for the Stula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira. That is the only job of this. This job of a seed is only of the origination of the tree. Same way, this job of a Karna Shariram is the manifestation of Stula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira. So that's why they say Sharira Dvayasya Karana Matram. It is only the cause. Right? So if you want to know how it was before its origination, when it was in a seed form. So for us to understand, when we are in a deep sleep state, our entire personality or knowledge, confusion or problems, everything is in a dormant state. We can't experience our individuality. But when we wake up with our problems, the same problems.
Video is
They're calling it as a
Yeah, Sahana, are you there?
Sahna video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just repeat from the previous.
From where? You're not able to listen, is it?
Video was frozen.
Oh, okay.
Just
From
one sentence before you just repeat it. That's all.
Okay. So when we are in a deep sleep state,
Yeah.
entire personality or knowledge or ignorance or problems or any confusion, we don't experience any of those. Only when we wake up next day, we wake up to the same problem. So it was there, everything was there, but it was in a dormant state. So this deep sleep state is the nearest example to get a glimpse of what Karana Sharira is, right? And the next description is Nirvikalpaka Rupam, Nirvikalpa Rupam. So let's understand what is Vikalpa. Vikalpa is differentiation or differences. Savikalpa is with the differences. Nirvikalpa is without visible differences, right? Just like the fetus of the baby. When you see the fetus of a baby, will you be able to see nose, eyes, ears, or any organs? No, you can't see, right? Does it mean it is not there? It is there. Because when the baby grows, you can see all of that growing, right? It is there. It is there in an avyakta state. Everything as one. In a seed, like a seed. In an undifferentiated form, right? So that undifferentiated form is called Nirvikalpa Rupam. So this Karana Shariram is equated to a Nirvikalpa Rupam. So the third feature is Satsva Rupa Ajnana or Anadi Avidya Rupam. So what is the nature of this Karana Shariram? Avidya. They say Avidya. Avidya is the one which does not have a Vidya or a knowledge. This Karna Sharira does not have a Stula Sharira or Sukshma Sharira for any transaction. Like if there is a mind, you can feel it. If there is an intellect, you can know something. But in Karna Sharira, everything is in Avyakta or Eki Bhuta. Everything is resolved in it. Where there is no buddhi or manas or indriyas for any transaction. That doesn't mean it doesn't have all of it. It looks as though there is nothing. right? It is there, but there's no difference. Like, there is no difference between the knower and the known, right? That's why it is avyakta rupam. Anadi avidya rupam. That's why swarupa ajnana. They say swarupa ajnana. Ajnanam is nothing but ignorance. Does not know anything actually. But here the author is stressing on ignorance of himself or herself. The one who does not know his own true nature. That is what is calling ajnana. So, as long as this self-ignorance is there, so basically he equates self-ignorance into the karana shariram. As long as this self-ignorance is there, the karana shariram continues to exist. So it is the cause, because karana shariram is the cause for the reappearance of the stula sharira and sukshma sharira. If the stula sharira dies, the karana sharira still exists. So it will take another body. That means karana sharira will end only when the self-ignorance ends. And self-ignorance ends only when the self-knowledge comes. So that's why it is said, avidya, anadi, avidya rupam. So if I say, if I ask you, do you know French? You will say, no, I don't know. So if I ask you, from when you don't know, will you be able to say? You may say, from my birth, I don't know. So does it mean before you are born, did you know it? You don't know, right? So the ignorance does not have a beginning. That's why it is said anadi. Anadi means beginningless. Beginningless self-ignorance. Anadi avidya. Avidya means that which can be destroyed only with vidya. Vidya matram, vidya matra nasya avidya. That means that which can be destroyed only by self-knowledge. It does not have a natural death. Everything else which is born will die, naturally die, right? If that is the case, then it would have worked for our advantage, that we don't have to learn scriptures to end this cycle, right? So here it is very important to learn scriptures, understand our own self. To get this self-knowledge, we need to read scriptures, do karma yoga, upasana yoga, shravanam, mananam, nididhyasanam, to gain vidya. Because only vidya can destroy the avidya, the self-ignorance. So you can't say all living beings one day will naturally get moksha. You have to work for moksha, which is working for knowledge. By gaining knowledge, removing the anadi avidya, the beginningless avidya, the self-ignorance, ends the karana shariram, so that punarapi jananam and punarapi maranam cycle ends. Therefore, avidya means it is destroyed by self-knowledge. That's why anadi avidya rupam is the definition for karana shariram. And they also talk about anirvachya. What is anirvachya? that which cannot be categorically defined. Anirvachya means definition, categorization. That which cannot be categorically defined as existent or non-existent. Let's take an example of darkness. So here, generally in Shastras, ignorance is equated to darkness. Like Uma told the shloka. Timirandasya and Ajnana Timirandasya. Ignorance and darkness are compared. So, darkness is something. So, the darkness is something that we experience, right? Suppose if I want to find out the existence of it, I need my eyes. But when I use my eyes, I can experience darkness. To study darkness, we need to take a light. So the moment you switch on a light, darkness disappears. So does it mean it is not existent? So darkness, I was experiencing darkness. That means it was existing. It was existent. But the moment I switch on a light, it disappears, or it dies, or it destroys. So if something has to destroy or dies, we should be able to see the remnants or debris. But here, where did the darkness go? I don't see a debris. So does it mean it was not non-existent? On inquiry, it disappears into nothingness. So I will not be able to categorically say that it was existent or non-existent. Same way, Karana Shariram is an entity which is of a nature of self-ignorance. Or Stula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira, which has everything in it but undifferentiated form. We experience Karana Shariram during sleep. It looks like a total blankness. But remember, in sleep, the blankness is not nothingness. But everything is in a potential form. That is what is Karana Sharira. Hope I made it justice to this topic. I really struggled myself to understand this before I present it.
You've done a great job, actually. It's a very abstract and a tough topic.
Thank you. If anyone has a doubt.
Thank you so much, Sahana. This is a great job done.
Yeah.
So I'll just stop this presentation for a moment. And if anybody has a question, or if you feel some more lights to be thrown on the darkness so that we can explore the darkness, we can do that right now. Okay, so let me give you a quick context from where Sahana was coming from, so we can actually make a complete understanding about it. What has been said is that if you look at yourself, there are three kind of bodies. The one body that we all can see, right? That's called Sthula Sharira. That is made up of physical matter. So when I wave my hand, each one of you can see it. Even I can see it. That's the first one. Behind the Sthula Sharira, physical body, there is Sukshma Sharira, subtle body. So subtle body, they define beautifully that there are 17 or say 19 kinds of subtle bodies, which expresses through this physical body, correct? And this subtle body can only be seen by me. You can't see it. So what I'm thinking, only I will know. What am I feeling, only I can know, right? So that can be only known by me. So that's basically the subtle body. Now, the Upanishads say that nothing gets created out of nowhere. So if the subtle body expresses itself through physical body, then there has to be cause for the subtle body, correct? It has to come from somewhere. It just can't appear out of nowhere, correct? So the space from where it comes, the matter from where it comes, is called a causal body. As Sahana beautifully explained, that matter is called a causal matter. That causal matter becomes, from that causal matter comes the subtle matter, and from the subtle matter or a process called Panchikaranam, gross matter is created. Clear? So far, so good? All right. Now, I'll tell you the real problem that happens when we try and decipher the causal matter. Causal matter is also called potential body. So let us understand this. If you tell that this person has a great potential to become a cricketer, what does it mean? It means that it has not manifested yet, but it will manifest at some point of time. Similarly, when you look at a spring, you say it has a lot of potential energy. You don't see it, right? You just know there is a potential. As Sahana gave a beautiful example, that the curd is present in a potential form in a milk. But is the curd form present in a potential form in water? No. Water can never take out curd, but milk can take out curd because the milk is already there in a potential form. So it means it is present in a very, very, very subtle form. Now the problem happens is when we want to study this subtle form. So study something, right? We need information, correct? And how do we gather information? We gather information in our mind. Clear? So if at all we are understanding, where is understanding happening? Understanding is happening in my mind, correct? So I basically perceive from my sense organs and make a meaning out of it in my mind. However, what is my mind made up of? My mind is made up of subtle matter. But the potential matter, which is causal matter, out of which the mind is made up of, is much more finer than the mind. The mind does not have the ability to grasp the potential matter. And that is what Sahana was trying to say. It is avidya. Vidya happens in the mind. So we use your mind to understand. But when it comes to the causal matter is much more finer than the mind. So there is no way the mind can grasp the causal matter. That's the first challenge. And second challenge is, for any information to take place, there has to be a subject and an object. Correct? So your indriyas, your listening ability is listening to my sound. So my sound is the object and your listening ability is the subject, right? So there is an interaction between the subject and the object. And as Sahana was mentioning, in a causal matter, in the potential matter, there is no differentiation between a subject and an object. When there is no differentiation between a subject and an object, there cannot be any information passage that can happen. For any information to take place, there has to be a subject and there has to be an object. And therefore, if you try and understand avidya, you will not be able to. And this is how beautifully Sahana explained that if you're trying to understand darkness by throwing light on it, you will never understand, because darkness is far more subtler than light. The light cannot lighten up the darkness. You understood? So the point here for us to understand is that there is something called a causal matter or a potential matter or a karana sharira, from where comes the subtle body, and from the subtle body comes the gross body. Is it okay for all of you? And what happens is, the reverse also happens when pralayam happens. Then at the time of death, what happens is the physical body gets destroyed. At the time of pralayam, the subtle body also gets destroyed. When it said destroyed, Krishna clearly says nothing gets created, nothing gets destroyed. It just moves from a manifested. So manifest means something that you can observe. So your physical body and subtle body you can observe. From the observed physical and subtle body, it becomes unobserved. It becomes potential. And from potential, it becomes manifest. So from manifest to unmanifest, unmanifest to manifest. So that unmanifest part, the seed form, as Sahana and Sonali was mentioning, is basically your causal body. Let's not try and think too much about causal body, because you are going to use your mind to study something which is beyond the capacity of mind to analyze. Right? And this is where exactly the problem happens. When they say before the Big Bang, there was no time, there was no space. So there is a point of singularity. What is that point of singularity? They say a point of no information. There is no information that existed, and therefore it's very difficult to decipher what existed before Big Bang. And this is exactly what causal body is. It's a point of no information. But there is a point from where everything emerged. That is called the causal body. And if you think about it, how deeply these concepts were thought through some 5,000-10,000 years ago. I mean, then look at the depth of understanding the scriptures had. Yes, Kaushal.
So is the causal body just one or many across the different sthula shariras?
Sana or Uma, you want to take it up?
My causal body is responsible for my Sthula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira. Same way, your causal body is responsible for your Sthula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira. So, actually, there is only one conscious, or the seed. But we are all a reflection. Right? Does that answer your question?
So there's only one seed.
Uma, you're on mute. You wanted to say something.
Subtle and gross body are planted in the causal body, in the potential form. Or it's the other way around, that the root or the seed where the subtle and the gross bodies are there is the causal body, but it is beyond the definition of no, positive, negative, good, bad, and everything. It is not attached to anything, the causal body. It is just housing these two, but not attached.
Okay, so I'll just give you the similar thing in a slightly different perspective, Kaushal. The easier way to understand is that all my karmic imprints, the information, is basically your causal body. So which means you have a causal body. So whatever karma that we are doing, and whatever information, say for example, let's take example of a DNA. What is DNA? DNA is basically a series of information. Basis that information, the protein gets stacked up, the entire body gets created. Correct? So what is DNA? DNA can be termed as a causal body. I mean, as an analogy, it's not exactly causal body. I'm just giving you an analogy. It's the information. So your karmic information is basically your causal body.
Yeah.
Which cannot be
memory bank it's a memory bank for both gross and subtle body. Am I right with that?
Yes. So it's basically your karmic information. It's your memory bank or whatever you say. And that basically finally becomes, that's the seed. What is the, see in the previous session, you would have seen that your causal body or your gross body has two aspects. One is it's made up of Pancha Mahabhuta, correct? That is Samanya Karana. And there's also something called Vishesh Karana. What is the Vishesh Karana? Is your karma, is your karmic information. So Samanya Karana, where does it come from? It comes from the Panchamahabhutas. But Vishesh Karana is what? It is the information, it is your karmic information. That karmic information can be constituted as your avidya, as your, see, I'm just trying to help you get an understanding, because the potential body can be far more deeper. It is known as Anandamaya Kosha. But what gets stored over there, what exists over there, is your karmic information. That karmic information proliferates into gross subtle body and the gross body. And therefore, it is said that the causal body is the cause for subtle and the grossal body.
So the causal body has no cycle of birth and death?
No.
No. when a person is born, the stula sharira gets formed. When a living being comes to form, a stula sharira gets formed, and the subtle also gets formed. When a person dies, these two leave the body, or they dissolve in the karana sharira. So karana sharira is unattached. It does not have the cycle of life, birth and death.
Okay. Vidhan, Uma here. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So I understand this is very abstract, right? But if I keep it in a very abstract manner, I don't think I will be able to remember this very well. So I am trying to put an idea to this according to my understand. I will bounce it with you. Can you tell me if my understanding is right?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So if I had to give an image to whatever we are speaking of right now, right, to store it in an image form, there is a tree of life, right, which houses many seeds. So this tree of life is our universe, or the consciousness, or the bigger aspect of the whole universe, right? This seed is the causal body. The seed it carries is the causal body, which has potential and knowledge of all the things it could become, right? So when this seed drops to earth and it starts taking form, that form is the stula sharira. And the energy within that seed, or the energy within that form, is the sukshma sharira. Makes sense?
Certainly makes sense. So it's basically you are calling the causal body as the seed, right? And the seed basically leads to the energy of the seed is becoming your subtle body, and it's also gathering itself from the universe and becoming a physical body as well. So it's fine.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
finally, what happens is that everything becomes a seed again,
Yeah.
right? So everything becomes back into a form of a seed. So that's exactly how it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, sorry, but I just have to go back to one point in the previous discussion. Is it okay, Bidar? We spoke. I mean, we know how that Stula and Sukshma Shariras get destroyed.
Yeah, Stula Sharira gets destroyed at the time of death, but Sukshma Sharira does not get destroyed at the time of death. Sukshma Sharira gets destroyed only at the time of Pralayam.
Pralayam is what?
Pralayam is an event when the entire universe ceases to exist.
But the way to destroy it is through jnana. That is, the study of scriptures would hopefully lead to, the process of liberation, and can put an end to this cycle. Okay? Is it that?
Okay. So let's understand that this is a space, right? In this space, there are multiple bubbles, correct? And each bubble kind of thinks it has its own personal space, and it is moving around from one place to another. But when the bubble bursts, what is left is only space, right? Similarly, what may happen for a specific individual, because of knowledge and enlightenment and knowing who am I, the karmic bondage breaks. When the karmic bondage breaks, there is no karana sharira, and therefore there is no subtle body and no gross body, and it merges. It becomes universe itself. It becomes what we call Brahman itself. So that's how it happens.
So that's why hopefully we are all here. So Yeah, I don't have much today.
And just sorry for one moment. See, all these things which we are talking about, we are trying to give a word to a very abstract, different dimensions, right? The dimension that we exist is basically 3 dimensions here right now. Now, the space-time matrix that we experience in the waking state will be very different from the space-time that exists in energy state, and very different from the space-time that exists in the causal state. So it is mostly to just understand that there is a state called a causal state, and from there comes the subtle, and from subtle comes the gross. That's the point that we need to try and understand. Otherwise, it's going to become difficult to grasp with our current state of intellect and understanding.
Yeah, the Srishti and the destruction. Okay. Yeah, today we're 13.1 and 13.2, not much actually. Avastha, okay, we saw all the forms of the, manifestations of the Sthula Shariram, the Sukshma Shariram, etc. So now what are the experiences of each living being in the course of our life every day? Avasthatrayam Kim. So the answer is Jagrat, Swapna, Susuptiya, Avastha. So 3 states that we experience every day. We can go to the next slide. So Trayam means 3. So 3 states of experience from the time we wake up to the time we sleep. So Jagrat is our wakeful state, Swapna is our dream state, and Susupti is the deep sleep state, where we are not even aware of our sense organs or the inputs coming out or coming in, or our interactions, nothing. So we have to look next into what each of these mean. What is Jagrat state? What is dream state, etc. So I think the next batch is going to deal with that.
Hello all. Yeah, thanks Prema for taking us into that. So here, Shloka 13.3, it is Jagratavastha Ka. Okay, so it's basically the question being asked is, what is a waking state? For which the teacher answers, Vidhan, if you can go to the next one. Okay, now I'm going to attempt reading it for the first time because I don't have help. It is, if I'm wrong, one of you can correct me. It is Shotradri Gyanendriyaihi. Can someone help me on this? Right.
Chandadi.
Shandadi Vishchescha Gyayate Itischa Jagratavastha. So, I mean, pardon my Sanskrit, but yeah, what it really means is what is a waking state, right? The state where you're able to experience, right? You're able to experience through your sense organs, these sense objects which are there, and the objects of experience are 5, which is basically seeing, vision, that is rupa, shabda, which is hearing, you have sparsha, which is touch, then you have smell, which is gandha, and rasa, which is taste. So the state of Jagrat Avastha, that is your waking state, is where your sense organs are able to perceive everything, and you're aware of your gross body, basically, right? So your sense objects are perceived by the sense organs. That is Jagrat Avastha. That's it for me. If anyone wants to add, please feel free. Basically, very, I mean, it is a very simple thing, waking state. I think everyone experiences it, and we are experiencing it now. So that's it from me, Vida.
Thank you. Any questions for Jagrat Avastha? Great.
Yeah, hi, Sapna here. this presentation has been contributed by Varsha and Asha as well. So ours is 13.5, pretty much easy, straightforward. Let me read that. Stula Sharirabhimani Atma Vishwa Ityuchate. So, Bidan, please go to the next slide. Here, Stula Sharira means the gross body. Abhimani is identifying with. Atma is the self. Vishwa is the complete or all-inclusive. Iti, thus. Achyate is called. So if you break down the shloka, this is what it means. But we'll just give the broader meaning of the shloka in the next slide. So to understand this, I think all of us have seen previously that we do have our sense organs, which is the Strotra, Jnanendriyas, and Shabda, Divishyache, sense objects. So basically the sense organs and the sense objects leads to an experience, which is called Anubhava of the external world, right? Now, when these sense organs interact with the sense objects, we all know that we have an experience, but that experience can be pleasure or pain. So when we say that pleasure or pain, with that pleasure or pain, you actually react or respond. And what are those? It's basically all forms of emotions that are based on those interactions. So the kama, krodha, mada, matsarya, all these things come into that. So basically, when we say Jagrat Avastha, what does it include? It includes all these interactions that happens using your sense organs and the sense objects, plus the interactions based reaction. So this is called Jagrat Avastha. Bidan, next slide, please. If I have to experience this Jagrat Avastha along with the sense organs, interacting with the sense objects, it needs my cooperation. So what do we mean by cooperation here is that you have to identify yourself with the sense organ, which means that, for example, all of us are here in the class. It can so happen that you can doze off or you have other things happening. So you will not actually identify with the sense organ and you cannot connect, right? So if you have to listen, you have to keep your ears open and pay all the attention here, right? So that means I have to cooperate with my sense organ, with the sense object, and that is when all this will happen, right? So basically that is called, I have to identify with the indriyam, which is the power of the sense organ. Here our power of sense organ is hearing. So the auditory bit is what we are talking of. And where is it located? It is located in my ear. So I am going to use my ear and use the power of hearing to get this, right? So I need to cooperate. I need to have that attention that yes, through my ears, I'm going to listen and I'm going to gain this knowledge. So that is called the indriyam. With the next slide. So therefore, if you see the indriya functioning requires identification with indriya, which means I have to become like, I have to identify. That is when it is called abhimana, indriya abhimana, when I'm able to identify with the indriya, that power, that we are talking. And for which what we require is we have to identify with the golakam. What is the golakam here? The physical part of the body, which is my ear. Now, golakam is part of the physical body, which means that I have to also identify with my physical body, right? So basically, it's all talking about abhimana here. I have to identify with my indriyam. I have to identify with the golakam. I have to have the whole sharira abhimana. I have to identify with my whole body, right? So which means I have to identify with my physical body. Otherwise, I cannot operate with the sense organs, and without which I cannot experience the external world. Waking state requires stula sharira abhimana, right? So this is what it means, identification with your physical self, which again we have broken down, right? So in summary, we would like to say I, the self, which is the conscious being, I, the Stula Sharira Abhimani, I, when I identify with the physical body and experience the waking state, which is the external world, I am called Vishwa, the waker. Yeah, so I think it's pretty much straightforward, but last slide. So this is interesting to know that when body is non-operational, I think we've already discussed when you're in sleep, deep sleep state, it's, the external world is also non-existent for us. And the Stula Shariram and Stula Prapancha appear and disappear together. So if you wake up, they appear. If you sleep, they disappear. So in waking state, both of these appear, and in dream state, both of them disappear. But does it disappear from the world? No, it only disappears for me and from me. So that's what we have from our shloka. I think, yeah.
Can you go back to that slide? I have a question. If there is time. Vidhan, are you putting up the slide? Yeah. So no, the previous one. Just the one. Yes. Yeah. So but we are not aligning everything together in our real world, isn't it? So what does that mean? Here, the Indriya, Golaka, and Abhimana. So while you're experiencing something out of your physical body or the Indriyas, but I don't identify myself with it. Sometimes, I'm eating and watching TV. I am driving and talking to somebody. So my conscious self is not aligned to what I'm experiencing. Doesn't mean that I'm not awake.
So I'm sorry, is this Suresh? Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
Suresh. So what happens is that there are certain everything we see, or whatever our sense organs are able to with the sense objects perceive creates an experience. I think that we already have covered. Now that experience can be conscious or it can go into your subconscious. Vidhan, please correct me if I'm wrong somewhere. So what you are talking of is the subconscious bit, where you're not really conscious of what is happening, right? Like sometimes you're driving and you're talking, so you're very subconsciously doing a lot of things. So it goes and sits into your subconscious mind is what I feel. And when it doesn't mean that you're not identified, but it is going and creating an experience somewhere. It does create an experience. You may not recall or remember it, but it does create an experience is what I believe. Vidhan, if you can throw some light on that. Yeah.
It's pretty much same. So what's been said as a waking experience is basically when there is an interaction, when you are actually identified with the sense object and the sense organs, and you experience. Say, for example, see, this is what happens. We start breaking up words too much, and simple concept looks a little difficult. So when you're listening to me right now, you'll be able to listen to me only when you're paying attention to what I'm saying. What does it mean by paying attention? What does that word paying attention means? It simply means that I am basically taken my awareness to my listening faculty, right? Suppose I'm saying something right now and the mind wanders. Suddenly mind starts thinking of something else. Possible? Is it possible? So when the mind starts thinking something else, are you truly listening? You're not listening. Correct? But yes, the sound is going inside your head. We're not talking about it, but you're not truly listening. The listening will only happen only when your mind is aligned with the listening ability and the person who is basically saying. So suppose if I'm trying to listen to you, but there is too much of a noise around, so I'm not able to perceive what has been said. So when there is an alignment that happens, only then you experience in the waking state. So waking state is experienced, any event in the waking state is experienced only when there is a proper alignment. So that's what waking state is. Say, in the waking state, you can get into dream state. Even if you're awake right now, you may not be aligned to what I'm seeing, and I can start daydreaming. So even though I can conceptually say I'm awake, but actually I'm not awake to the experience of what is happening right now. My mind has gone somewhere else. So actually speaking, I have got into a different avastha, which is not the Jagrat avastha. It's called a different avastha that we will be talking about in the next week. Does it clarify?
Yes, Bidan. So that means that when you're driving, you're in a not 100% waking state. You are switching between the Jagrat Avastha and the dream state.
Not necessarily dream state, but when see, we have to technically what the waking state over here means is when you are basically aligned, when your sense organs and sense objects are completely aligned. For all you know, when you're driving, you are not completely aligned with the driving, you are aligned with something else, you are aligned with music. So you have taken your ears to the music, right? So your attention is towards the music, then that also is a waking state. It's a part of the waking state. So there is still an alignment. It may not be aligned with your driving, but it is aligned to something else. But suddenly, if you're not aligned to something external and you get into some sort of an hallucination and a dream, then you have moved away from the waking state. So technically, a waking state is a place when your sense objects and sense organs are aligned. Does it help, Suresh?
And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
field of or the rather the medium or the tool of experience is gross body and subtle body.
Both gross body and subtle body are interacting.
Yeah, in a waking state, your field of experience is medium of expression, or is your gross and subtle body in the waking state. In the dream state, it is only the subtle body.
That's great. We have any more questions?
Bidan, I think Asha had some questions. Shall I put it up on the chat?
Yep, please. Asha, questions will be pretty complicated, I can make out, but yeah, please go ahead and do it. Okay. Question 1, what does it mean as long as an individual is spiritually ignorant, the Karana Sharira will also continue to exist? How can ignorance, absence of self-knowledge exist before Srishti? Who experiences ignorance? Okay. I think someone did ask about this this point. I don't know if Kaushal tried asking this. If an unmanifest becomes manifest, then unmanifest and manifest cannot exist simultaneously. So how does body continue to have sthula, sukshma and causal form? Amazing questions. Yeah. Question number 3. I didn't understand this. Even the subject or the object duality will not be recognizable in Karana Avastha. Isn't Karana Shariram still related to one body mind complex? The text says my Karana Sharira. Aren't there as many Karana Sharira as the lives in the universe, which has a finite set? Great. Good questions. I'm sure Uma would like to attempt all of them.
I mean, I don't mean anything to say, but I think I'll need one class to even understand the questions. The third one knocked me out of the park.
No, it is quite complicated actually. Needs little bit of reading and then replying. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it is too logical, whatever the question she's asking. Yeah.
See, this third question we have actually discussed.
Hmm.
There is no duality when it comes to the subject and object duality when it comes to Karana Sharira. It is not happening. So that's what when we are going to talk about Shushupta Avastha, I'm sure this shloka will be taken in the coming sessions. So this is straightforward that in the Karana Sharira, there is no I and you. That's why in the deep sleep, if you see, you don't even experience your own self. You don't say, I am sleeping. Do you ever say, I am sleeping? You don't say, I'm sleeping. Do you experience space? No. You don't even
Nothing.
experience darkness also.
No, nothing, I think.
Do you experience time? Can you say how long did you sleep? Because there is no presence of I. There is no ahankara. So the subject, what is the subject? The I is the subject. What is the object? Everything apart from I, that the feeling of I. So both I and everything apart from I becomes one lump, that in the minutest form. So there is no subject-object duality, and therefore, so this is what I think Sahana was also explaining, that everything, there are no differentiation. It's like a seed form. So when there is no subject, no object, then there is no information that happens. So when the text says my Karana Sharira, yes, the my Karana Sharira will not necessarily be a right way of expressing, because there is no me.
There's
no me, there cannot be my Karana Sharira. So you're absolutely right to point out that my Karana Sharira may be just a flow of words that has been used. But yes,
added to that, there is no time and space also that bounds the causal body.
So that's sort of question number 3, I think, is more or less fine. Okay. If an unmanifest becomes manifest, then the unmanifest and manifest cannot exist simultaneously. So how does the body continue to have Sthula, Shuksha and Karana Sharira? Perfect question. So this is what we have to understand here, that's the reason when we are saying that you're right, when the milk becomes the curd, then either the curd exists or the milk exists. Correct. So when Karana Sharira has become the subtle body and the gross body, then how can you say there is a Karana Sharira? So that's the reason we did discuss about the point called information, the karmic information. That karmic information should be understood mostly as a subtle body. That information that curates our subtle body and the gross body. Because every time I am doing an activity, I am creating a certain karmic memory. That karmic memory basically continues to shape our subtle body and also in turn shape our gross body. So that's how we have to understand this aspect of causal body. Technically, you're right. If the causal body becomes the subtle and the gross body, then it cannot coexist. You're right. But what coexists is the memory, the information, the karmic information, which kind of creates everything. And that karmic information sometimes is also referred to as a subtle body, or the information that curates everything. Now, the first question, what does it mean as long as individual is spiritually ignorant? The Karana Sharira will also continue to exist. I think this is what Sahana was mentioning when she was saying, how can ignorance and absence of self-knowledge exist before Shrishti? Who experiences ignorance? If at all, I think in Tattvabodha, if they are going to talk about Maya, so Maya is a very interesting subject which kind of answers this part. So Karana Sharira is also a subset of a concept called Maya, which is also known as avidya. So somewhere we have to understand that, as Sahana was mentioning, that the knowledge and avidya, you do not know when the avidya started. Say, for example, if she asks, do you know French? I don't know French. Since when do I don't need French? I don't know since when I don't need French. I can always tell you from when I started knowing French, but it's very difficult to say from when I didn't know French. So avidya is timeless. It cannot be bound within the network of time, right? It is anadi. It is beyond time, right? And then vidya, you can basically say, okay, I have this information, I understood this from this point of time, right? So there is the ignorance is there from the beginning. Ignorance is there from the beginning. It is anadi, it is timeless. So that's one point. I'm sure I need to basically talk to you again to understand what you are asking very clearly. As long as individually, spiritually ignorant, the Karana Sharira will continue to exist. See, what do you mean by as long as an individual is ignorant? What it means over here is till the time I am not aware of my nature, which is consciousness, right? Till the time I am in the duality, till that point of time, the Karana Sharir exists. That means there exists something called the world. Now, as soon as I see myself as the very consciousness and everything which is expressing around me as consciousness itself, if I come to that level, when I own that experience that I am consciousness, then automatically the karmic layers suddenly dissolves. The karmic layers which has created the perception of me suddenly dissolves. So that is what it means. As long as individual is spiritually ignorant, till the time identified with body and mind, I am creating a lot of karmic layer. And till the time I'm creating a lot of karmic layer, there exists a Karana Sharira. But once I get enlightened, once I understand who I am, then the karmic layer dissolves, and therefore there exists no Karana Sharira. Right? So how can an ignorance and absence of self-knowledge exist before Shrishti? This I need to understand what you're trying to ask. Who experiences ignorance? I, the very consciousness, is experiencing ignorance and therefore experiencing the entire Karana Sharira.
Adding to what you told about the causal body or the Karana Sharira not being there, that is what it states here, that you reach that stage through your karma or whatever, and all the tools like meditation and this is what is actually the touching point with lot of yogis who are beyond the gross and the subtle body and are actually reached that causal body, but it is not there. That doesn't exist, but that is where the whole thing happens, I feel. Where that no, you're talking about that complete chit shakti and all that, no, that consciousness where that is where it resides.
Yeah, so it's a very yeah, I mean there is a presence of a causal body, but trying to understand causal body using our intellect, we will find a roadblock. Is that what I'm trying to say? We just need to understand it's a karmic layer, and till the time karma exists, the causal body exists, and the day we realize our true self, and when the karma drops, when the sanchita karma gets burnt, we live our prarabdha, then there is no karmic layer around us, and I become who I am. I realize myself, and therefore there is no causal body after that. So that's where your answer, Prema, when you asked that what happens. So this is what exactly happens when you become a yogi or a jnani. Then you transcend everything. So we'll get more clarity as we go along. Welcome to Tattvabodha. We have just started this journey, and there's a lot more interesting concepts which will come along as we go. And there is a lot to learn. Please do keep these questions coming up. So we'll just close this session for today. If there are any further questions, more than happy to answer. Okay. Uma, would you just wanted to close this? Uma, you're on mute.
Sorry. Om Purnamada Purnamida पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Thank you.
Thank you so
Actually,
much.
this shloka also recites the same thing. Whatever it is, the whole. You remove it, it's the whole. You remove. I mean, that's what when Asha's question came. This is what I was thinking. Subtle body you remove from there. Gross body, still causal body is there. It is the completeness. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh.